This divide, which C.P. Snow memorably bemoaned in his novel The Chemistry of Love 6 decades ago, appears even wider than it did back then. Even as the public's shared experience of art and culture has split, science has become more technically demanding.
In the summer of 1929, the Great Depression began in the United States as a normal recession. However, the slump grew significantly worse in late 1929 and lasted until early 1933. Real production and prices both plummeted.
More than 200 years of colonial tradition may be traced back to the institution. Many of the people who have worked here, like Albert Einstein, are scientists themselves. His discoveries made it easier to turn on the lights, prepare supper, and play video games on our consoles because he made it easier to create and use electricity. This cafe's decor is warm and inviting. Several little wooden tables with no tablecloths, wooden chairs, and wonderful soft sofas can be found inside the cafe. A huge mirror is located near the entrance, giving guests the opportunity to examine themselves. Wooden cases with few portraits and photos line the walls.
Between April and June of 2016, there were 5 ozone ascents at the Baradi Station Indian Mission in Antarctica. Leading scientists at Baradi Station were alarmed when the stratospheric temperature dropped to -82.24 C on June 20, 2016, signaling the creation of stratospheric clouds that might lead to a reduction in the stratospheric ozone concentration.
To execute large-scale scientific applications on distributed resources and in new ways, the grid-based architecture allows for the use of distributed computing resources. Users must first understand how to generate security credentials before they may utilize grid resources. Access to these resources must be made as transparent as possible so that the end users are not burdened with the minutiae of the process.
The Olympic Games are the most prestigious sporting tournament in the world. This event, which takes place every 4 years, attracts almost 200 countries. They alternate with the Summer and Winter Olympics every 2 years during these 4 years. The Paralympic Games, the Youth Olympic Games, the 5 Continental Games, the Deaflympics, the Special Olympics, and the World Games have all been added. Most individuals who want to learn a new language use the tried and true techniques of reading, writing, listening, and repeating. You can better retain terminology if you gesture with your arms while learning, even months later. Memory of a word's meaning is strengthened when it is linked to the brain centers that control movement.
According to a recent analysis, studies financed by the soft drink industry are more likely to obscure the relationship between obesity and type 2 diabetes. He said that biases in industry-funded research are not typically caused by bad technique, but rather by intrinsic design flaws, such as poor choice of comparators and issues with data analysis and reporting. Reduce your dependence on natural resources by reusing and recycling your old items. Mining and forestry are the primary methods for obtaining raw materials from the earth if spent materials are not repurposed. Saving raw materials and preserving natural ecosystems are two of the many benefits that recycling provides. The bright cheery yellow is a crowd pleaser. While yellow is a cheerful hue, it causes individuals to lose their anger more frequently, and it causes newborns to cry more. Because it is the most hardest hue for the eye to process, it may become overwhelming if used excessively. Yellow improves concentration, which is why it's used in legal pads. It also has the effect of increasing metabolism.
Why don't all CEOs and bankers get bonuses or other incentive compensation schemes? So why not take chances and make significant decisions in your work? When it comes to motivation and reward, do corporate decision-making and financial risk-taking require a different approach than other types of work?
There is a type of ground known as permafrost that is always frozen. Permafrost soils in the Arctic may be as thick as 260 feet. The upper layer of seasonally thawed soil is increasingly becoming thicker and deeper in the Earth as a result of human-caused warming of the atmosphere from greenhouse gas emissions.
Students benefit from group work by learning how to work together and communicate effectively. Individual group members' contributions to the work may be difficult to properly credit as an evaluation job. By making sure the work is well designed and the responsibilities of persons are clearly understood, these challenges may be minimized.
In order to be a person, you must be conscientious. In order to be a conscientious person, one must be able to manage one's own behavior. This attribute determines whether you will make long-term objectives, mull over your decisions, act cautiously or impulsively, or take your responsibilities to others seriously. Backbiting is simply saying unpleasant things behind his back when he is not around. It describes the personality of a backbiter. Backbiting can harm the image of the person who is doing it as well as the image of society. When it comes to the public eye, the person who is doing it can have a negative view of the person who is doing it, and it can also cause misunderstandings among people, which is not good. Skinner's descendants, on the other hand, are making even the most ardent doubters re-evaluate their positions. See article. Schools throughout the world are embracing new tools to tailor instruction thanks to rich techies like Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates. If edtech proponents can resist the temptation to resurrect negative assumptions about how children learn, this may benefit hundreds of millions of youngsters imprisoned in dreary classrooms. If education technology is to be a success, it must serve the classroom, not the other way around. To this day, many people consider Albert Einstein to be one of the greatest minds in history. Einstein was dismissed from school for being rebellious and negligent about his studies as a youngster, and his instructors and peers felt he was a freak.
We should expect to see a lot of progress and miracles in our lives as the area of artificial intelligence continues to grow. Possibilities abound for radical shifts in current work practices. Perhaps we're witnessing the beginning of a new era in American labor history.
Admissions directors at business schools say the new push to attract younger students is in part due to a recognition that they had unwittingly restricted their candidate pool by requiring many years of job experience. Many talented students who might have gone to business school instead went to law or policy school because they were afraid of the job experience requirement.